Welcome to another episode of the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast, your weekly dose of news and advice that comes to your pocket every single Saturday. Holding it down, here we got Mac, Mark, Scott, and Landon. Enjoy today's show. Hey, welcome back. It's the Snap Fantasy Football crew. Mac and Lando today, just doing a quick update for you guys. So we had some big movements in the NFL the last couple days. Melvin Gordon found himself a team with the Denver Broncos, and Todd Gurley was released by the Rams and set sails for Atlanta. He's going to be a Falcon in 2020. Landon, this is huge news. This is exactly like you said in the podcast, a couple days ago, that this is the excitement that we needed to get us through some of these dull, depressing times. So give me your take on these two moves.
This is big. Do we want to talk through both players, or just Todd Gurley, or just Melvin?
Yeah,
what do you think?
Let's start with Todd Gurley.
So Todd Gurley, 25 years old, has finished second in,
which is crazy to think,
scrimmage yards since he's been drafted. He has 74, almost 7,500 yards from scrimmage. He's been electric. Like we were talking off camera that he pretty much took the Rams to the Super Bowl until he got hurt late in the season, and then C.J. Anderson came in, and you could tell how dominant their O-line was. But he got he only got a 1-year deal from the Falcons.
Right. This is a 1-year, $6 million deal from the Falcons, and then the Rams are basically supplementing another $5 million of this contract. They owed him in March of 2019, basically a roster guarantee of $7.5 million with a $2.5 million offset. So he's getting roughly an additional $5 million from the Rams heading into this year. So he's on paper with the Falcons for $6, but receiving.
So maybe that's why he's willing to take a 1-year deal, because he's still getting paid, and it's a prove-it deal.
He's still getting paid. True. It's nowhere close to the 4-year, $60 million that he signed with the Rams in 2015. Sorry, 2018. 2018, he signed that deal. So the Rams only paid out 32 of that 60.
All I know is when I'm having a kid, I'm not going to let him or her become a running back, because they get the raw end of any deal right now. These guys are not getting paid. A couple of years ago, you'd have thought, if you were in Dynasty or even in a redraft, these guys are early first round picks, electric running backs. It's tough to see them really not get paid. Now Todd Gurley has a prove-it deal. He's back in Georgia, back where he went to college, and maybe he thought that the Falcons were the best chance he had to get paid next year. Is that?
Yeah, like you look around the league, and this is maybe not quite a transition point yet, but Austin Eckler, the Chargers don't go to Melvin Gordon long term. They signed their backup, who turned into their starter, Austin Eckler, $24.5 million over 4. So he gets paid a lot less per year, and they get a comparable running back for not the big price tag. So I think what you're going to see moving forward with a lot of running backs outside of like the Zekes and Saquons of the world is, 1 to 2 year deals. Because who wants to stay committed to a running back for 4 or 5 years when that might be their entire career? Like you just don't know.
If you have Zeke in Dynasty, you saw Todd Gurley get released before that 10.5 was guaranteed. Give it a year or two, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happened to Zeke as well. So, as great as he is, but this was Todd Gurley a couple years ago. So, it's one of these things where maybe if you have that elite running back, if you could get an absolute haul for a Zeke Elliott, maybe it's time to move on a guy like that. He's had so many yards, so many carries in the NFL. Is it a little too early for you to bail on a guy like Zeke, Mac?
No, it's definitely too early at this point. And I understand why people are bailing on Todd Gurley. I totally
the knee
get
issues,
that.
right?
The knee issues, sure. The crazy thing is he's 25. Like, this guy came into the league at 20 years of age. he has wear on the tires. That's the thing with Todd Gurley. He's not old. He's just used. Like you said, 7,500 yards, 70 all-purpose touchdowns since entering the league in 2015. That ranks number 1 amongst active running backs in that time frame. The guy's been an absolute monster. NFL purposes, fantasy purposes. He's been a beast. And that's why I think that, he has a little bit of a, disheveled outlook on him by fantasy owners right now, but I don't think that's warranted. I still think Todd Gurley's got lots left in the tank, and what we perceive him to be maybe like a second round pick, late second round pick in 2020 redraft, I think you've got some value
So
there.
you've always had a soft spot for Gurley. He won you a championship a few years ago in Dynasty. But today I went on our Twitter and put up a poll. And the results were surprising and very I would say recency biased to how good a season one of these guys had.
So I haven't seen this poll. Give me the 4 options. Let me make a choice here.
When I posted this poll, we didn't have a landing spot for Melvin Gordon. I would have included him in that poll, but I didn't want to leave that landing spot blank. So
Sure.
So I said, who would you rather have in a redraft? Which most of you listeners don't play in dynasty leagues. So if you're listening to this right now, these are maybe your options in the mid-second round, who you'll have to choose from. So you have Todd Gurley, now with Atlanta, David Johnson, now with Houston, Mark Ingram with Baltimore, and then Le'Veon Bell with the New York Jets. So those are some tough options. Maybe not in your mind,
I think
Mackenzie.
out of that
Give me your
list,
thoughts.
No, you're right. Soft spot for Gurley. I'm still going to go Gurley. What were the outcomes?
Well, Gurley is in second place. Now, 123 votes have been laid on this, but Mark Ingram in Baltimore, the 30-year-old running back in Baltimore that had 10 or 13 touchdowns this past year, is winning that
Come
poll.
on.
Now, this isn't Dynasty.
No way.
We still think Mark Ingram will have a good year next year. So
You said redraft, though, right?
I know. That's why he's leading the way.
Yeah. Wow.
So
I don't get that. I don't see that.
I think as the season becomes closer, I think that Gurley will be well ahead of these guys. I think David Johnson, the hype on him is going to be real. We'll see probably some videos on YouTube or whatever on Twitter on David Johnson. Le'Veon Bell's getting pretty disgraced, disrespected.
As he should.
He had a
Terrible
bad
season
seasons.
last year. I figured DJ would have had more excitement around him.
He's losing
than
the
this,
poll right now with 9.8%.
I'm going to put that poll up on the screen for everyone to see here. But yeah, one guy I want to talk about before we go, we touched on it briefly, Melvin Gordon going to the Denver
Terrible
Broncos.
landing spot.
He's basically, I don't like it. I really don't like it. I mean, this is bad news for Philip Lindsay owners and Royce Freeman optimists. Basically, I think Royce Freeman is dead meat. He's going to the wayside. Dynasty, this sucks. I mean, if you wasted a first or second round pick on him, what was it, 2 years ago? I'm sorry. That this is tough times for you. Philip Lindsay, though, this is the biggest one, and the question here with Melvin Gordon going to the Broncos, is this going to be running back by committee, or is it going to be Philip Lindsay take a seat? The storyline was great for you, but I mean, you were a walk-on,
and that's
moving on.
the unfortunate part of it. It will be running back by committee as long as both of these guys are healthy. Now, if one of them gets hurt, then it's a different story. There's optimism. There's Drew Lock at the helm, and he showed flashes of brilliance. They have Cortland Sutton there, who looks elite as a wide receiver. So the offense has optimism around it, but now I don't want to touch either of these guys in fantasy. We want workhorse running backs, even though they're getting a little bit difficult to find these days. I would take one of the rookies coming in, like a Jonathan Taylor or J.K. Dobbins, depending on the landing spot, over Melvin Gordon at this point. I just don't like him being a Bronco at all.
We know how you like your rookies. That's for damn sure. So the deal for Melvin Gordon is 2 years, $16 million, $13.5 million guaranteed. Not quite the contract that he was looking for, I'll tell you that much, but at least he got some guaranteed money in his pocket. And, he's motivated. Clearly, a quote that I saw from Ian Rappaport was that Melvin Gordon was offered a competitive offer, if not better than the one he got, but he was happy to stay in division so he could play the Chargers 2 times per season. So he's clearly out for some vengeance.
He's hungry.
Yeah, you know he wants it. Real quick, do you want Gurley or Melvin Gordon going into 2020?
I'll take Todd Gurley.
If you have to choose. So
easily Todd Gurley. For now, as of right now, unless something happens with Philip Lindsay.
Crazy. Well, I mean, hope you guys have enjoying the videos. We got a little bit extra time on our hands these days, so easy to pump out content as often as possible. Let us know in the comments below what video you would want to see next, what players, what landing spots you want us to break down. If you want to get us on social media, you can do so at snap_fantasy, and you can get our podcast on Apple Podcasts by searching The Snap Fantasy Football. Hope you guys are having a great week, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Be safe.